you got to do?
Yeah, I'm at my daughter's birthday party.
villages propose in our daily lives?
So there's bamboo instruments, and there's also kuningan. There's brass instruments, and the bamboo instruments are really commonly used when you come to a ceremony and there's somebody playing in the front, soothing music. It's just sort of the backdrop for a lot of ceremonies. It's really beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for starting. And for those of you that don't know, you're going to get to learn a lot more about Tim and Kevin and the work that they've been doing together in Bali. We're also going to have an opportunity on the other side of the live stream to be able to ask questions of Tim and Kevin and the other people who are featured in the episode, as well as the two primary filmmakers, Jordan and Aaron. But for now, I shared it earlier, but I'm just going to put it again at the very bottom of the chat. Brandon, if you can kind of start the countdown or however that works, if we can all go to this YouTube channel, we'll just leave this Zoom open. This is where we'll come back after the episode, but let's go to the YouTube channel. That's where we're going to watch the episode together. Just so people know, it's 35 minutes long. So we're going to watch that, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little bit of an opportunity for questions and answers. So see you there. Mute your Zoom link, please, and keep it open, and we'll see it at YouTube. Bye, everybody.
We live in cities surrounded by concrete. We maybe have a city park that was carefully manicured and curated to look a certain way. But we have lost our connection with raw nature, and we've lost our realization that we're actually a part of that nature. I don't know the names of my neighbors. I spend my weekends at Costco, desperately trying to fill up my refrigerator with things that are packaged in plastic, and I don't know where they came from. People are sort of patting themselves on the back for being sustainable or buying something out of the supermarket that's organic or a green label or rainforest safe. It's like, that's not enough. People lining up for the cash register to pay with a credit card to earn points to fly somewhere far away. There's a lack of humanity in the way that we consume. And you start to feel that disconnection. I think a lot of people come to Bali and the first thing they notice is the plastic, and they're horrified. How did this plastic, what are they doing throwing plastics into the rice paddies, into the rivers, into the ocean? Like, what is the problem with these people? But we were the ones, we brought the unsustainability here. They were using banana leaves before we came and throwing the banana leaves into the river because that's just what you do. The indigenous have actually been better stewards of the land than we have.
Why are you coming here? What is your reason to come to this island?
feels like the rice field is now turned into beautiful villas just to make sure that people have a nice view of the rice field, but actually they destroyed the age of the rice field itself.
Why do we ignore our beautiful inherited ancestors' gift? Why do we move to a modernizations and to a materialistic life like the Westerners? But then Westerners come to Bali and seeing the value of this culture of the farming. They're seeking into a channel that they can improve their lives by.
Long time ago, you can just go to the rice field at night, bring the torch with you. You might find frog, catching eel, snakes, grasshoppers. With the distractions to feed the human greedy, they are offer exploitations to the natures. Now we came into the point of reflection and realizations that we have changed the world in a bad way. Without the forests, we wouldn't have our lakes. And without lakes, we wouldn't have the rivers and streams. Without rivers and streams, we wouldn't have the rice field. Actually, if you zoom in, see a more detailed pictures and go deep into it, there are a lot of challenge about it. Who will be the next generations to work at the rice field?
I grew up in a very monocultural setting in Canada. After I graduated from university, I feel like everything that I've done since has been part of recovering from my own education. So it's sort of like a 20-year period of denial of yourself. I was raising two little boys, and they were in a French Catholic school. Catholic schools are sort of like the poor man's private school in the province I come from. And we thought, why not? But I did the same thing to my kids that I was recovering from myself. You know, they were lined in rows, being taught by teachers who had been in the same classroom for 40 years. You know, no inspiration, no flexibility, textbook driven. It was a disaster, actually, when I think back at it. I wandered off the path for a little while, ended up in California and working for a software company and chasing the almighty buck. We bought a house and I became very disoriented in terms of what I could potentially do with my life. We were always just getting by, and it had been 6 years, and I was getting very tired of it. I opened up this TED Talk when I got home, and Insuk was sleeping next to me, and it was called My Green School Dream. I watched it by myself, and that was it. I saw blue sky. I saw children running in a field, mostly Balinese, but some international kids in there too. But the Balinese kids, it looked like the sun was coming out of their faces, and these smiles. So, yeah, it was, it was an aha moment. My kids need to live what they learn.
Bali lahir ring akar kata wali. Wali punika maduwe arti upekara. Sedurunge ngelaksanayang karya mandeledang iraga dados semeton Bali.
You know, we have lots of ceremonies. I can't name one by one. For example, there is a ceremony called Tumpak Bubuh, in which we honor and being grateful for the trees to grow. So we make offerings and we do talk with the trees, like saying, thank you for growing big. I was born in West Bali. It's about 2 hours from this village. The whole of my life back then was all about education. When I graduated from high school, it's a difficult moment for me to decide, kind of you confused where to go next. All I know is I will be a teacher, but I don't know where. Exactly like 2 months before I graduated, I watched a YouTube and highlight the Green School Bali. And exactly I see the kids are gardening. Coincidentally, I have no idea about it before that the Green School is located where my dad was born. And at that moment, I tell to myself, I'll go to this school for work.
We didn't have a lot of money, and I just assumed, well, I thought we could just mortgage the house again. There's always credit. So that was the plan. And as it turned out, about 4 weeks before I arrived, I was offered a job as the head of admissions at Green School. And this is my first tour of Green School. And we walked right through into the heart of school, right down the middle pathway, and you walk into that majestic building and it just takes your breath away.
And the building is entirely made out of bamboo, surrounded by beautiful green gardens.
They speak of something that's just far beyond anything you can conceive. After the first day at Green School, our kids saying, we're going to graduate from this school. They didn't ever want to go back. And that was it. This is our new life.
The vision of school is we are a community of learners making our world sustainable. So what is sustainable actually means? It's not just about the environment, but you see also the social aspect.
forgotten to take that context into account. But there we were in a train of cars coming into Green School, and there's an old, very frail-looking woman. Right next to the road is a caravan of cars with tinted windows are driving past her with dust coming up in her face. And it just didn't occur to me until then that this was sort of a foreign invasion of her place. So we were not living so sustainably and not behaving so sustainably, yet we were coming to a place that was meant to be a model for sustainability. A lot of the people around us that I thought were going to be collaborators in learning with us were more serving us in the kitchen and in the garden and in the grounds and the buildings. I realized that my kids were probably viewing the world through that lens of Indonesian people being our servants effectively. I can't believe what we've done. Like, why? Maybe I've exposed my kids to something that was potentially more of a bad influence.
I have no idea what Green School was about. I have to pass Green School to get my middle school. I've seen it, but I'm not able to get entered into it. Being a Balinese, seeing white people, it's a common situation to us because we live in the island where 1,000 foreigners living in.
Sino ya suốt nên anh biết?
Suốt nên nhập ujian sih.
Bon aja.
Bola. Udah cica sing laja.
Kan sekolah apa dia nyep?
Nyap. Hukum perundang-undangan sih. Tapi mantap lah, belum lajah sih, aman kan?
Ini kan modelnya hukum perundang-undangan.
There's a frustration when we are in our village with a private property such as Green School not allowing us to go in.
Main, penjawab, tapi sodcang lah kene. Sodcang tes lu.
Yang berapa suốt?
Jam banyak jam 6 harus suci. Tapi sayang kan sih, nak cambung naik tugas. Kan sing tes ada nih.
Mantap tuh.
Yoi.
Mantap sih.
I was actually kind of despairing at the disconnection between local and international culture. And I had my head in my hands with Orrin Hardy, the son of the founder. We got to do something about this. We got to do something to bring the sides together, to have more engagement, more interaction. Like, how do we do this? And he says, well, did you walk around? Have you been outside the campus?
So it was frustrated to us, like, oh, why can't we go in? We're in our village. Why don't let us come in and being connected with your community? So that's how we actually feel.
So basically, Orrin took me by the hand and he walked me around the neighborhood. And we spent a few months doing that, committing some time to just going around and meeting people.
So then, as a kid, we climbed up the fence and we went in and we did football with no permissions. But then we were noticed by the security to get out and get away, dude. Prohibition notice that we have to leave Green School.
At the same time as we were meeting people in the neighborhood, and we were consistently asking them, how can we make Green School valuable to you? How can we be relevant to you? Everybody was telling us the same thing. Teach our kids English. Please teach our kids English. That's what you can do for us. And that was the start of something really, really precious.
I met Patim at the parking lot. But he scared me the first time because I was sitting on his motorbikes, and I thought he's going to mad at me. I was afraid. I thought that he's going to say, move out of my property, go away, go home. But then he said, hey, man, are you locals? Yeah, but where do you live? Do you want to enroll to our new class? So it will start next week. And I said, what class is that? Oh, it's a class where you can learn English and you can meet international community and you can go to green school anytime and use the free Wi-Fi's and you can play football anytime you want. Oh, I said, wow, this is like a golden invitation, so I gotta take it. Okay, yeah, so.
Yeah,
that was, but it was okay.
it's tough to slow it
yeah,
down
it's
when you
tough to slow
like
it down.
change the cadence
Right.
in the end there.
Yeah, but we have to practice, like
Yeah.
do a lot of practice. But
I
yeah,
know.
so you have to practice it a lot, then you'll master that.
Yeah.
terms. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. But
Yeah.
be happy, always happy to be your teacher. Pak Tim speaks Bahasa fluently, and he's culturally aware. So he's aware about how to live in Bali in proper way for foreigners. So he did that.
The truth is, it was a little bit rogue the way this started, and there wasn't. The only permission that we asked for is to allow the security to let the local kids in at the end of the day. That was sort of, I think, the first battle for Coco Connection. It's kind of like a whole new school started to emerge. Our international kids at the end of the day would run off campus and the gates would open and the Indonesian kids would flood in. Like, let's break down the walls and make sure that local kids feel like this is their place too. In terms of the education, there was no permission, to be honest. We just saw something that needed to be done and we started doing it. Nobody said no. So we operated with almost no budget initially. Balinese teachers were willing to spend their time after a full day of teaching and, at green school. They'd be willing to give their time to serve local kids and let them be a part of it too. So we started Coco Connection on the requests of the local people around us to teach our kids English. But we always knew there would be more than that other things would come up, and they did. Kids have started, they've organized their own activism groups.
Activism, if not us, then who? Okay.
They use performing arts as a means of advancing their agendas around social justice in the environment.
Jadi akan ada sedikit perubahan untuk posisinya, oke? Masih ingat teman-teman? Itunya waktu terakhir kali kita performnya gimana posisinya yang di depan? Si yang gini ya? We'll think about it.
Enggak, maksudnya kalau biar gitu Kak Satya aja suruh di depan biar pas juga cowok-cowok.
That would be awesome.
Daripada Kak Satya sama
Satya, okay, we'll say. Then we'll be let's put Satya here. Let's put Satya here. Satya at the front, ya.
Are you ready?
The first time I came to green school, I felt stupid and useless. I didn't care about the environment, I was afraid, and I was too shy to speak. I felt different. I want to learn more about the trash. I want to know more about the environment. And I decided to not throwing trash on the ground anymore. I have learned to care, to express my opinion. I have learned I'm smart, useful, and I am brave.
Hi, my name is Ayu, and my quest is about Ayu's kembali ke sekolah. So I want to make recycling center in my school.
Who stepped up and said, we want to present in front of the whole school community. We want to make our own project. So rather than it being an assignment that's been foisted on them that they're expected to do to get a credit and a check mark so that they can pass on to the next point, it becomes an opportunity. And they seize it.
My local school now has recycle center. I want every school in Bali have recycle center to save the island. Let's reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Jadi dulu Bapak Ibu adalah petani, mereka tapi tidak punya lahan, tapi mereka minjem untuk berjualan, untuk membuat uang dari payah mereka, jual daun pisang. Jadi tapi sekarang mereka berubah profesi, Ibu jadi istri rumah tangga, membuat canang, membuat sesajen, dan Bapak menjadi guru. Saya prihatin terhadap lahan di Bali, peralihan lahan di Bali. Semua orang berpikir tentang mereka.
I can take the advantage of English. So I can communicate with the foreigners and I can tell them completely what Bali has. So it's not only the beach, 5-star private property. I can tell them why this island has to be respected by you. Because you come from the other area, so you got to respect my island and I will respect you as well.
After we bought our first house in Vancouver, it felt like there just wasn't enough time to connect with people. We were always trying to get on top of our bills and always trying to save up for the next thing that we needed to buy. I dug up all of the grass at our house and I just started putting in food. Every square inch of the yard, I just wanted to plant with food. I found that when I was out there digging in the garden, neighbors would walk by and they'd be intrigued and they'd engage in conversation. So I think that was like the first time I realized, like, there's something sacred and valuable about connecting with the earth.
My grandfather's been at the rice field since he was very young. To him, rice field is a very sacred and special and a place where he belongs to. And I remember when I came to the rice field, see my grandpa, and right away he stopped and then enters a very small kubu. It's dark and it's so old. I questions him, why don't you repair this one? And he said, what for? I'm already old. I'm about to die. That moment just make me realize that maybe to support him is not to ask them, Grandpa, please stop working in the rice field to rest at home because it's getting weaker and weaker and weaker, but actually to let him doing what he wants to do the most. And that story exactly I reshare to Patim. And they quiet. They look at me. Patim is about to tears.
Kena san bayu kak? Biasa. Jana sana sud mawud di negara. Sumedang kono. Apa orangnya sakit batas kak?
Itu buat wow gitu.
Oh. Men apa dana ada yang perubahan apa yang apa dilah patuh?
Dilah di mesin.
Dilah. Dua berarti kak dua kak.
But him asking me 2 years ago, have you planted rice before? And I said big no, because I've been so busy studying and had no time to like see grandpa and see the rice field. And then encouraging me, why don't we start planting rice? What do you think we can learn from your grandpa? Wait, grandpa? How could grandpa teach us? Because grandpa will not speaking at all. So then, yeah, we started it.
Oh, you mentioned a lot. Yeah, that's true.
So after this, you need to take the warm bed, right? Remember tempat tidurnya cacing. Jadi nanti ini bisa dipakai untuk jadi tempat tidurnya, the bed of the warm, right? Biar mudah dia dimakan sama kardus juga. Jadi dia coba lagi. Plastik.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you may assume that Balinese kids, of course, would be planting rice, but in fact they're not. And their parents are concerned, or their grandparents are concerned about that. So now more and more we're bringing Indonesian kids into the rice paddies to reconnect with that ancient culture and this incredible model for sustainability that's alive and well in the rice paddies all around Green School.
I made a connection with Subak Umalambing. So I introduced Pak Tim to the Subak and just easily get along with the farmers.
Dengan adanya KKC, Cool Connection Club yang mau berbagi, mau datang berinteraksi dengan petani-petani kami yang ada di wilayah kami, mudah-mudahan bisa memberikan motivasi kepada khususnya anak-anak muda kita bahwa orang luar mau datang, mau bekerja, mau berpanas-panasan gitu ya. Artinya mau tidak peduli hujan, tidak peduli panas, mereka bekerja gitu. Nah, sedangkan kita, anak-anak kita yang di sini, mudah-mudahan dengan melihat hal seperti itu, dia bisa kembali tergugah, biar paling tidak dia mau turun ke sawah kembali untuk menekuni sesuatu yang warisan budaya kita yang ya barangkali ke depan tetap kita harus jaga dan kita lestarikan.
Jadi mungkin ini tempat bagus untuk belajar bersama.
Itu harapan kami, mudah-mudahan dengan adanya kerjasama yang baik.
I guess we have to ask ourselves, what is school for? I think school is to prepare you for life. But how are you going to be prepared for life if you are brought up in a learning environment where the walls are so clearly defined around you and you're not allowed to see what's outside of them and the outside is not allowed in? Cool Connection is really about challenging this concept that Green School talks about of a wall-less learning environment. And I think when we do that with kids and with the community, we will start to realize real impacts, real innovations, real empathy, and schools will actually start to be relevant again.
To find a way how the community will get the most benefit from the green school and the vice versa. Because parents coming to the green school, the foremost things that they want to get or experience is a sense of belonging. Now is the time for the green school to stepping out from the green school bubble and walk to the community and see it real firsthand.
From a long time, the farmer here, this is very, very old people. 60%, more than 65 years. How to the young people, how to the next generation to do, how to love about the farming like that. Maybe you come now, make like a motivation for me. That is like my dream come true like that.
This time is really what Pak Tim been wishing for a very long time, to have a very mindful moment and to share the concern that he been carrying over the years. What is truly social sustainability means? And the Rice Cycle course answer it.
Tangan apa?
Tangan apa?
Kanan.
Kanan.
And this?
Kiri.
Kiri. This? Kanan. This?
Kiri.
Okay. Benar.
They replant them on a grid.
Ayo Kak, kasih yang lain Kak. Bisa buangan?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Eon's grandfather. So we're particularly excited to have him here. Ned, you might want to put yourself on mute. So I'm not sure the best way to do this. Maybe a few general reactions from the audience, and what questions do people have for either the filmmakers or the people whose stories were featured in the episode? There's Gian. Hey, Gian. Or either the filmmakers or the people whose stories were featured in the. Hey, Gian.
I think you open it into.
Oh yeah, I have to close my.
Or
the filmmakers or the people whose stories were featured in the. There. I'm causing that. Comments, questions, thoughts, Ann Paris.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that beautiful movie. I'm sorry we joined a few minutes late. I'd like to introduce my son, Duncan. He's a 10th grader in the American public school system here in Oregon, and he joined me for watching. It was beautiful. I was just so moved by the story. There were a couple of things that just really stood out to me. One was about asking our elders about their wisdom and taking the time to participate with them in their wisdom and understanding their wisdom. The other was the statement, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but the statement made in the film of, this is a good place to learn together. It just really moved me as a response to what was being said when the farmer was sharing his wisdom, and the educator just really accepted that this is a place to learn together. It really brought tears to my eyes. And then the third thing was just the idea that the parents really wanted their students to learn the language. Again, and then at the ending with the physical representation of language and teaching language, this idea that we have to be able to communicate with each other in order to learn from each other. So thank you very much. Duncan, did you want to add anything about the video?
I don't think I have much to add on besides what you said.
Okay. Any emotional reactions to the movie?
It was a good movie. I really liked how it was filmed.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Duncan. Other thoughts, reactions, questions for Tim, Gian, Kevin? And again, I just can't say it enough. Gian's grandfather is here. We're so honored to have you.
It's amazing.
Tim and Gian, we saw a little bit at the end about how you're both doing different projects now. Would each of you be willing to tell us a little more about what you're doing and maybe even how we can learn more about what you're doing?
Go ahead, you go first. Okay, all right, I'll go first. So I'm just gonna type in our URL to our website for anybody that wants to look into it. We started something, so myself and Martana and 4 others that were part of the Kukul Connection team, we had been spending a few years in the fields with the farmers and bringing people out there. And when the pandemic hit and the enrollment plummeted at Green School and kids started to go online more to learn, and my little guy graduated from Green School, we all just kind of went out to the paddies and started our own thing. And it's called Astunkara Way. Astunkara is kind of the Balinese equivalent to God willing, or Inshallah if you're Muslim. And so we are exploring a new way, a way that's regenerative and inclusive and respectful of nature. And so that's what we're doing, connecting connecting humans to nature and the source of their food for the most part through education and experiences. So that's what we've been doing for the past year. And Gian?
Hi, Sam. Nice to meeting you online.
It's so good to see you again. I miss you. I'm so happy to hear about your little baby, though.
Oh, yes. So, sorry of coming late because working with baby and elderly, that goes the same way. But I managed to get my grandpa, kakek, go with us, at least to do, because it's been, I think, a year already. Kakek really missed to meet Pak Tim personally, especially in this situation of pandemic. So when I asked, would you? And he said, yes. So I totally was so happy yesterday just by hearing that on. Myself, so much things happening on me in this past year. I'm becoming a wife. I'm becoming a mama of a daughter. I'm no longer working at the Green School. I'm no longer with Pak Tim as well. So it has been a space where I see myself, as I said in that video, I just didn't realize it before about stepping out from that comfort zone, and I did experience it this year. So with other friends, we starting a small school. It's not a school even, it's learning center. So
Love it.
For kids age 3 to 13 years old. The idea of expose myself to this new environments is because I've also realized to be a mother is really not an easy job, and it's need education for the mama first, for sure, to be able to pass this on to our little ones. So for the sakes of that education part of my baby, I jump into this education, not becoming the educators, but the education observer, to be able to pick up things that I haven't seen before, things that I haven't experienced before, basically to understand deeper about education. But it's also close with nature. So a combination between education and environment as my two biggest passion at the moment. That's what I'm doing. Still learning, still growing, still catching up, still hanging out with these dudes, especially back. Because also what I think is we need to be, or to have a distance to be able to value what we have before, and to be able to value what we have experienced before. And I value a lot what I was experiencing with Pak Tim, with Kakek, with Kevin, with Martana, especially these days, with the kubu being built by Pak Tim at the rice field. If you realize that, the kubu thing, the shelter being built at the rice field now, my niece, my nephew, my brother and sister-in-law, they keep coming to the rice field, enjoying their time or using their time for another income, because this situation is really challenging. So grateful that we have even anticipate and prepared ourselves for this unpredictable situation at the moment. So it feels like a gratitude. Such a relief, we did this before. Such a relief, we built a new kubu for the kakek. So for this time of thing, the rest of the people can just use it. They can enjoy it. They can come to the rice field with whoever they want at any time possible. So sorry, I talk a lot, but thank you for having us here.
Okay,
Thanks, Jericho. Thanks.
we're so happy to be able to share this space with you. Jordan and Aaron, is there anything that you all would like to say? I mean, this is a project that we've all been working on, but you two in particular have been working on for the last couple of years. And now this is the first time that we've really shared it with any group beyond our immediate circle. What's that like for you all?
Aaron,
First, Jordan.
I'm really grateful for everybody being here, and I think I really enjoy this type of viewing experience even more so than I think like a theater. People just seem to open up more and communicate more intimately, and it's just really beautiful. And just that experience alone has been really interesting for me. Seeing Guion's grandfather in the middle, like I was watching it, and then he came in and sat down, and then he just started smiling, and I still can't deal with it. It's beautiful. I mean, it's been 2 years since I was out there, and wow, it's just crazy to see all you guys together, this family that's not blood related, but you guys are just like family. And Kevin, to see you, I miss you deeply, and you're a friend from far away. And so, yeah, this is just like a weird family reunion with people I barely know, but know so deeply. I mean, we only spent 10 days together. Some of us less, but at the same time, I feel like I know you for the rest of my life. So that's my experience.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to kind of like see like where we stayed. Like Tim was so gracious to us to let us stay in his house while we were filming. So like not only did we come film him as a subject for this documentary, but he was like, yeah, you can stay with us. And not only that, but just everyone, all the Balinese friends that we made were just so welcoming to us. Like if we wanted to go film something, they would say, yeah, let's do it. Like it was crazy. Like we went over to like a huge lake one day and hiked down a mountain to like film a waterfall. And it was unbelievable. Just the hospitality and the milkshakes. I mean, like just all the stuff we did together was so much fun. When we got to Indonesia, we just finished our first episode. So we were already jet lagged. We'd already been filming for over a week straight. And the first thing we did was like a water bathing ceremony. And it was just so nice to have a moment to like soak in the culture and learn from the natives that were there. So yeah, much love to everyone there. Thank you.
So I think we have about 10 minutes and Kala has a question for our Balinese friends. Kala, would you like to ask it directly?
Sure. It actually came out of my first impulses. Maybe they want an astronomy teacher. So I teach, and I love the interface between the Hindu and the Islamic and the modern science in astronomy. And I thought it would be amazing to go there and share. But my question was, how is the Green School now with the pandemic in Indonesia and what's happening in Indonesia with that situation, and will it open again soon?
So Green School remained open through the pandemic. As many international schools did here, they sort of exercised a loophole and not having their classes on campus, but finding like extracurricular space. Green School happens to have a green camp next to campus, and to adhere to government regulations around pandemic protocol. Schools are not allowed to be open, but a lot of international schools found a sneaky way to still get kids gathered in small groups, following very strict protocol for the pandemic, and still learning together. So Green School has remained open. To the best. So Gian and I left Green School and Martana as well 1 year ago. So I'm not entirely tapped into where they're at right now. But from what I've heard, I think the enrollment about halved during the pandemic, but I think it's bouncing back already. It's still possible to get a social visa to come here, and a lot of people, I refer to them as COVID refugees, are coming to Bali. It's really quite a comfortable and sane place to wait out the pandemic. Life here is, there's no doubt people are struggling, but in terms of direct impact on health of people here, there hasn't been an overwhelming amount of evidence that we're in grave danger. So people generally have been living their lives as normal, and even partaking in ceremonies and gathering in groups and such, as you can see by the way we're gathered around this table right now. So the lockdown mentality is not what it is perhaps in the West. So yeah, the school is, I think, open and will continue and will likely continue to grow in my estimation after the pandemic. I think a lot of people will be looking to come to a place like this and just breathe, and connect with nature. I think it's a very compelling place to come to.
So Tim and Gian, there's a couple of questions in the chat from our friends in Oregon and our friends in Colorado about both them being inspired by the story of you feeling like you saw something that was missing and then you acting to fill that. And then the kind of culmination of that question is, I think people would love to hear you explain a little bit more. So you each left Green School to start something else that was more what? Like, how would you complete that sentence? What is it about these new spaces that has drawn you to them?
You go first.
What I pick up from this, as I do still remember the Green School mission. It's a community of learners making the world sustainable. And what I understand on that word is not about exclusivity. If this is about inclusivity, means that whoever, as a part of the Green School, they have the mission to continue that missions. So the seed, as this title, as you mentioned on the website, now sparking on to elsewhere.
Nice one. Yeah, I think our projects, it's even something I noticed at Green School when I arrived there a little over 10 years ago now. We were at that time about 250 students, and at its peak, Green School reached around 520, I think, so more than doubled. And I remember in the early days at 250, it felt much more like a village. And there was a point at which it transitioned to more of a township. And some of the earlier connections and engagement involvement that we appreciated, as much as it was chaotic, it was all hands on deck sort of mentality. And I think, the larger the school grows, the more it becomes, I think there was somebody asked a question, the difference between a school and a learning center. I guess the more it becomes like a school where, certain expectations around how learning happens and, well, I could go on, but I do believe that learning happens in more meaningful and connected ways when it's done in smaller groups and in groups that are broken out of their age cages, and so that you have learning occurring with 2-year-olds and 12-year-olds in the same space, for example. So, I think both Gian and I are in situations where we have that small groups of people in nature, kids enthusiastic and excited about learning every day, not feeling like they just have to complete assignments. And don't get me wrong, Green School is fantastic, and a lot of the opportunities to learn there are really remarkable. But I think what Deanna and I are getting in terms of fulfillment as facilitators of learning is just what I described. small groups of kids like really enthusiastic about being out there and engaging in nature and connecting to one another.
You know, it reminds me actually, one of the things that has come up in a lot of the recent Seed and Spark events from, you know, different pieces of advice from different people that are doing really amazing work in completely different areas. And the consistent piece of advice they have, because we've come back to this question of scale. And the advice is, if we're taking living systems as our model, the goal is not to go bigger, but deeper.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I hear you saying as well.
Yeah,
and you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. You know, I think we can fantasize and create sort of fetishize. Like when I saw the pictures of Green School, and like it was so beautiful, and like the pictures in the film is so beautiful, and then like thinking about the facilities, and I can get kind of fetishized about it and be like, why would anyone leave that? That's like, but then like hearing what you say about like moving toward even more authentic learning, I'm like, what? You know, like how does that happen? Like there's something really interesting about that to me. Like the going, and it's exactly what you just said about going deeper, you know, and maybe once you go to Green School, then you have to go deeper than that even. Maybe we're all moving into that place of going deeper and deeper, and you know, coming out of a public school teaching situation to that, to, you know, you idealize Bali, you idealize Green School, and then wait, there's something beyond that. It's just like, wow.
It's like, well, without Green School, Cool Connection wouldn't exist, and without Cool Gion School wouldn't exist. And so it's like there's a heritage there of trying to redo learning in a different way. But one thing that I think is interesting about it is that there's an equation between a parent's involvement with the school and the school itself. And I think what happens sometimes is the parents can bring in a bad transformative experience very subtly over time, and the school becomes something that it wasn't because of outside pressure. And I'm not saying that's what happened at Green School, but I definitely think it played a part. I think their ethos from the beginning was flawed, but I can see that playing a part. It kind of felt like Never Never Land, and like that's a place that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Kevin, I feel like in the episode, you were a really important voice for the ways that sometimes foreigners see Bali that way, that we do fetishize it that way. It is the place of Never Never Land. And so I loved your voice in the piece being like, well, actually, if you're coming here, there has to be a situation of mutual respect. What was it like for you to watch yourself in this video 2 years later? I'm curious.
Well, thank you. It was like I'm telling you the truth that is actually happening on the island. I mean, besides of the promotions that are being promoted by agencies or the officials, that Bali is welcoming you with all the respect, but sometimes we already did our best to them, but then they didn't give the similar response to us. I mean, that they felt that they came here and they brought such a big impact to support our lives financially. Then sometimes not everyone, but several several tourists or foreigners that came to Bali, they felt that they had brought such a huge impact for communities and stuff, and then they feel like, oh, you should do something for me. You should do something for me based on what I want. Did you get the picture? Yeah, that's what actually happening besides the promotions that are being promoted officially or worldwide. Yeah. So basically, this episode's for me, it's the most literate episodes that shows the truth of what's happening in Bali.
I think we have time for one more question or comment, and then he may not want to, but I would love to see if Gian's grandfather would like to say anything or offer anything. But is there any comment or question before that? Jordan, you were about to say something. You're on mute, Jordan. You're on mute, Jordan.
I would like to maybe ask Jan's grandfather what he thinks about the new kubus that popped up in the rice field around him. There's like what, two new ones, right? Or, you know, I don't know. That seems like a I want to see what he says.
Takonan kene engken kubu baru engken. Kubun kane baru dicari engken. Kan? Terus demen nanti ya mujang cari dengan kubu baru.
Anu itu anu metis.
Bubuk.
Bubuk tak
Okay, so actually on the way to this place, Prarenan, situated in a very beautiful geography because it's like surrounded by the rice field, and Grandpa has just commented on the way, like, wow, because on the right and the left view mostly is villa. So he really put on comment on that. Engkau juga ngomong, pantas setelah cari apa bahasa Inggrisnya itu ya. No wonder that the rice fields is gone.
And there is the tension right there.
Yeah. Grandpa is not a talkative person, only commenting on certain thing one time. So in that car, that's really triggered me, like, oh wow, he pick up on things here.
Yeah. Well, to all of our friends in Bali, thank you for sharing your story with us. I don't know if you saw it, but I think Andrew said it kind of perfectly in the chat. What he wrote is, to all our friends in Bali, we are so grateful to you for your connection to us, for your friendship, for your honesty, and for your commitment to preserving Bali and making a better world. So thank you. And thank you everybody for coming. Just a reminder that this is an ongoing expedition. So we're going to be meeting this Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. Not the best time for our Balinese friends, but hopefully we'll be a little friendlier for some of our other folks. And that's going to be our meeting time all month. So every Sunday from 3 to 5 Eastern. There will be other events coming up, and we will share the link of this episode so that I hope everybody that's here will share it with other people so that more people can learn about the great work that's happening and think about the ways that it can inspire us. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Sam, Jordan, Aaron, everybody here.
Thank you, Tim, for waking up.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you from Oregon.
Why are you laughing at me?